All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March 2022 School Committee meeting, or as we like to call it, the Office Garments Farewell Tour. And we will start with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The Danvers Public Schools, a mission statement. Danvers Public Schools is a dynamic community of independent learners dedicated to respect, responsibility, and creativity in the pursuit of academic and personal excellence. This meeting is being broadcast on DCAT. Is anyone else in the audience recording this meeting? All right, with that, we can begin with items of interest to the superintendent, school committee, and community. So to our co-acting superintendents, items of interest.
I'm all set this evening. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay. Okay, items of interest from the school committee.
All set.
Okay. And items of interest from the community. Anyone from the community have anything they wish to bring forward at this time? No? Okay. So we will move on to, the SEAPAC. Are our SEAPAC folks here? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. You're actually under items of interest. So I'd like to introduce our SEAPAC chairs. And please take the mic, introduce yourselves, and tell us anything you'd like us to know. And we thank you for being here.
Thank you. So I'm Amanda with the SEAPAC. I'm just going to go over some information about SEAPAC and some reminders. My name is Amanda Ballat, and I'm the co-chair, parent of 3 children in Danvers. I have a daughter with a disability in kindergarten, and I have 2 other children in 3rd and 5th grade. I, along with Amanda Daniels and Jen Nikitas, comprise the board of the SEAPAC this year. They're not with me today, but they wanted to say hello as well. We've coordinated SEAPAC events, meetings, and I've also attended training and Visions of Community conferences offered through the Federation for children with special needs. You may have joined us for our annual resource fair in the fall, or a basics rights night, which we've had in the past. Those include understanding the IEP, transition planning for children ages 18 to 22. And you may have seen our workshops around executive functioning skills, internet safety, and other workshops. I know many of you are passionate about these topics, so just want to educate and remind families who SEAPAC is, what we do, and our plans for upcoming meetings and workshops. So as a reminder, SEAPAC is a special education parent advisory council. Under the Massachusetts law, every public school district in Massachusetts is required to establish a SEAPAC. Membership is offered to all parents of children with disabilities and other interested parties. These may include caregivers of students that must overcome barriers that may require special consideration and attention to ensure equal opportunity for success and in an educational setting. This is whom the Office of Elementary and Secondary Education defines as special populations. For our Danvers SEAPAC, our families developed a mission statement collectively during our welcome meeting in September. As a reminder, the statement says, Danvers SEAPAC is a group of volunteer parents who are dedicated to the support and education of caregivers of children with unique needs. Our presence serves to provide information and engagement with the community on all matters surrounding special education. We strive to foster open communication between the school district and families. We believe in empowering each other to advocate for the needs of our children so they may receive respect, acceptance, and the best education. So we just found it was a great time to highlight disabilities as kind of part of inclusion and just remembering that we are an important part of the community, and special ed is definitely not something to overlook and something that we are continuing to bring to the forefront with administrators in the schools. So what we do is a lot of different things. The special education process is not always easy. In fact, it rarely is. But the good thing is, it is protected by the law and has checks and balances in place. Something that Lynn, the Director of Student Services, reminded me of the other day. For example, at an IEP meeting, let's say that a service provider recommends cutting back on a service for your child in their expert opinion at the school level. You may disagree with this recommendation, and ultimately, parents do have the power to accept, partially reject, or reject the proposed IEP. So the Danvers SEAPAC has access to valuable information and support through MassPAC network of organizations and other SEAPACs across the state to help families understand and navigate these processes. The National SEAPAC Guide asks, how is a SEAPAC different from a PTO, an advocacy group, or a parent support group? So parents come together for many different reasons: support, friendship, event planning, advocacy, information, and active response. While each of these purposes is important, a SEAPAC is not an advocacy group which focuses on upholding rights for children, advocating for change from outside the system. It's not a limited effort focus on a single issue or immediate concern, and it's not a PTO which may plan field trips or fundraisers, such things. For our SEAPAC in Danvers, we are having a monthly planning meeting this week actually, and we are committed to have bi-monthly meetings with Lynn at Student Services, who took over for Dr. Tatum back in September or earlier last year. During these dedicated meetings, we on the board do not approach the district on private matters for our own children, but we are approaching with a mindset for all children receiving services in the district. We're able to get dates on the calendar for workshops. We ask what's being done in the district with special ed programs and structure. We also raise questions or bring up concerns that we may have gathered from parents who reach out to us without specific students being addressed, of course. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, April 6th, coming up soon at 6:30 to 8:30, and it will be our annual Basic Rights Night. This night is called the Evaluation and Eligibility, and it's hosted by the Federation of Children with Special Needs. This is a free virtual workshop for parents and professionals, and it will be held via Zoom, which has proven to be the most inclusive and convenient for families. Members at our back to school meeting were polled back in September and expressed high interest in the evaluation and eligibility process. And anyone who wants to attend must register, but we definitely hope to see many families there, and definitely be on a lookout for an email from the district and also our Facebook page, which is Danvers SEAPAC. Just to wrap it up a little bit, we do plan to have one more SEAPAC workshop by the end of the year, so totaling 4 for the year. This is in addition to one-on-one contact with families throughout the school year. And we would love to just have more engagement with the community in general. As we all know, COVID has been tough the past few years, especially on children with special needs. And we want to recognize that we need each other, especially when it comes to supporting our kids. We're working to make SEAPAC stronger and have a broader reach in the community, and we are taking steps to make improvements. A great SEAPAC would look diverse in terms of age, ethnicity, disabilities represented, you name it. So we'd love to have parent volunteers in every school to attend our meetings, orientations, or PAC meetings to communicate with principals as needed. So definitely reach out if you're interested. My name's Amanda Ballat. And for individual questions or concerns, we'd encourage you to contact us directly via email at danverscpac@yahoo.com and also through our Facebook page. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. So before you sit down, does anybody have any questions? No school committee? No. All right. I would simply take a minute to endorse SEAPAC heavily. I think for any parents who have students with any sort of a special need, it can be a lonely place sometimes, and I think it can be a confusing situation to be in, and anxiety-ridden at times, depending on where your child is. And to have a group that, even just for, not only for information, but moral support for what you're going through, so that you know that you and your family have strength with other families who are going through the same thing. So I really hope that people who haven't attended a CPAC meeting would certainly consider that. And I would think that the annual basic rights is a great place to start. So I hope you'll get a great turnout at that meeting. And we thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much.
All right, do we have student representatives here?
They are not in attendance today.
They are not here,
They
okay.
are not.
So let's move on to COVID statistics.
So we are going to transition just based on where we are with COVID this month, and I'll just briefly, without any slides, review where we've been. Thankfully, we've been at 3 cases, 218 the week of 218, 225, 3 cases, 3-4, 1 case, and 311, 3 cases. So I think we are going to transition away from making this part of our regularly monthly agenda, but the data dashboards will still continue to be posted to our website so that we can continue to track that data for families that are interested, to make that data available. And just a reminder to families, we are very thankful for this. Case counts continue to be down, even though we've moved back to our new normal and having an education experience that is like pre-COVID, and just really moving back to that normal environment. So thank you for everybody's support.
Thank you. I see we have Bea Joko here from both the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee and the Board of Health. And we're seeing the same things from the town side, basically. All right, we got a nod, yes? Great, thank you. So on to information from the superintendents.
Great. Well, tonight our strategic plan presentation is going to incorporate some pride presentations from our schools. So we have the Highlands School Hounds here with us, and then Danvers High Falcons to present inside the strategic plan update on safe and supportive learning environment. So we presented this. I forgot that I don't have this on. Oh, I did something else. Betsy, I'm gonna have to have you. So what we thought we would do is we talked a lot about social emotional learning in that update, and we're going to provide kind of a more comprehensive look at how we are working with social emotional learning and our school-wide expectations, and then we'll have presentations come up along in the middle of this presentation. So just to start, we've been since January really kind of putting a little graphic along with our mission statement. It's around the engaged student, and that for students to be engaged, they need to be seen, valued, and heard, and that really helps everyone in our communities understand that they belong, and that goes along with our mission statement. So back in September and in January, we presented, this was kind of our priorities for the safe and supportive learning environments, that were, supporting all students in an inclusive, emotionally supportive, and culturally responsive environment, that we're focusing on community. We're prioritizing student safety and implementing practices that build social emotional capacities within students, faculty, and staff. But then as we move through this school year, we come back and we need to start thinking about shifting our approach as we've hit post-COVID. And so what we found is that the trauma from COVID really had us rethink our traditional approaches to the social emotional learning and to our discipline. Our behaviors that we're seeing in some of our schools are really communicating student need. And we really have transitioned over the last year or so that discipline doesn't just mean giving consequences to students, but also includes teaching through restorative actions. And we're really doing that teaching through also social emotional learning. A big thing is culture and community building in our schools. Has just started to return the last few months, and that is so important for students to feel like they belong in the community and their school community, and helps understand what the expectations are of the community. So in all of this work, relationship building is our #1 priority, and it's really the only way that we can improve the school culture and climate. And I really feel like that the faculty really started to work hard, strongly with the students to develop that relationship. You'll hear that presentation from the Danvers High group to talk about how that is happening, but that has been a really refocus of our work this year. So our approaches that we're taking, I talked to you in January about the social emotional learning we've been doing, but we're really working on also the #2 is reestablishing behavioral expectations at each school. And we're working on rebuilding school community, and at Highlands they're going to come and talk to you about how they've been able to get together as a school community and kind of celebrate one another. And then finally, we're really incorporating those restorative practices into our discipline practices. And so we talked last month about these. This is the different way that we teach social emotional learning at each of the levels. So I went through that. Here's the elementary school approach to social emotional learning. We used open circle lessons along with, if you see on this slide, what we call the zones of regulation language. So that helps kids communicate how they're feeling and what their emotional state is at any time. And teachers work with them on the different colors, the blue, green, yellow, and red. We also, in these lessons, provide lots of resources for teachers. So there's a read aloud that talks about a character that is experiencing, some kind of issue with some of the social emotional learning that they have, and then they talk about like a resolution, and then we go and do lessons from there. And then after that, there are other supportive lessons to keep building. So the read aloud might happen like on a Monday or Tuesday, and then the other days of the week during SEL at the elementary level, they're following through with other lessons from here. They might also have other read alouds. We also have the specialists, the art teacher and the phys ed teacher, giving other supportive activities. So like like a therapeutic art kind of activity to do, or a physical motion activity to do in the classroom. So that's what's been happening at the elementary for explicit SEL. And what we need to do is kind of add it into our school-wide expectations. So each school has their, and I'm showing the elementary level right now, each school has their way of communicating their expectations to kids. So it be it an acronym, or like Tiger for Thorpe Tigers, or Smith Bulldog Brave, or Riverside Pride, or Highlands Positive. Kids are learning what it means to behave in school. And what I thought I pulled out here is Great Oak. They have a matrix of school-wide expectations. So their values are respect, responsibility, and perseverance, but they also delineate what this looks like in the classroom, in the hallways, at lunch, and at recess. So that if someone is having trouble with those expectations, you're able to not only address the troubles that they're having, but then help them understand what that expectation is, and maybe help them with some skills to be able to meet that expectation. So that's kind of how we're like looking at trying to put that social emotional learning into the school-wide expectations. So at this point, I'd love to have the Highlands School to come up and do their presentation to talk about talking about their behavior expectations, building school community, and social emotional learning.
Guests who I'll call up in a minute. My name is John Obremski. I am the building principal. There's a couple of teachers here this evening as well. I'd like to thank Ms. Chase, Ms. Doucette, Ms. Bullers, and Ms. Boudreau for being here this evening to support the Highlands School. It's the Highlands School right there. The next slide, if we go to. So respect, responsibility, and safety was really what positive expectations was all about. But now we're in a post-COVID world, and we're really talking about to reinvent, reconnect, and reinvigorate. And all of this has to do with school culture and climate. So if you go to the next slide, the simplest terms for kids to understand this is, and for adults as well, is in terms of expectations, our voice level. Like, what type of voice do we use in certain settings? And silly picture up there is we did pig races earlier in the year, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. But that's part of the school culture and climate, trying to create these events that give the kids a connection to the school. If you go to the next slide, some of the other things that we've done is I have to speak of the PAC specifically at Highlands, the parent organization that helps us create fun and exciting events and experiences for the kids at the school, as well as the teachers working with the PAC. Specifically, some of the things we did were the Monster Mash. We have morning music when the kids are entering sometimes. The Highland Hound goes around the school every once in a while. We've had a bagpiper come in. We have visiting artists. We have trivia nights that are virtual, so all the kids can join in on the weekends. We just did one Saturday night. We have Savers Drives, book fairs. They brought in bike shows, whale mobile last week. We did the turkey toss there. You can see Mrs. Boudreau was one of the winners over there. And of course the pig races and field day, things like that. But all of this creates a school culture and climate to make kids want to be a part of the Highlands School. And if you go to the next slide, this slide is from field day. Some of the things that we're moving forward with is we've created an expectations committee, and they've met a few times, and we're meeting again this week, and a few more times we have scheduled. And that's a group of teachers that are getting together along with me, and we're creating a system of expectations for the kids post-COVID. And this is important to the school climate and culture and what we expect from the kids each day. Specifically, not just within the school, but also outside the school. What's happening with social interaction in terms of play on the playground, at recess, in the cafeteria, in the hallways, things like that. Part of this goes along with what the PAC is doing, as well as events that are happening that we have planned for the spring, like Spring Carnival, Field Day, other events like that, and bringing volunteers back into the school, something that we were missing during COVID, which is vital to any school. Kids need to see other adults besides the teachers and the nurse and the principal walking around. We need to see people within the buildings. If you go to the next slide, this is what Mary was talking about earlier, and this is really the crux of social emotional learning and things that are happening at the Highlands School as well as the other schools within the district. And it's really bringing about self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, responsive decision-making, and we do this through read-alouds as well as through conversations with the kids in the morning. We did work with Open Circle, and we're using their lessons of activities, and we use the zones of regulation, as Mary mentioned. Also vital to the school culture and climate and social emotional learning is the morning meeting, but not just the classroom morning meeting. We're going to start getting back to next week through Mr. Gasanowski's here. We're bringing back the whole school meeting where we'll all meet together in the gymnasium or another space within the building or even outside to get together as a school to go over what our expectations are and to create that school culture and climate that's so vital post-COVID. And at this time, I would love to bring up, we brought 7 kids with us to talk about social emotional learning. We're going to start with the 4th grade. If Noah, Summer, and Penny would come up. Thank you all for being here tonight. All right, you guys take the podium here. Ms. Bowles.
Just taking pictures.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Penny. I see all the time when my teacher gives us time to share and connect with each other. At the beginning of the year, I would sometimes stress about the things that we were doing in SEL. But as the year went on and we did it more and more, I was able to open up, understand myself more, ask more questions, and share with my classmates and teacher. Now that I am more confident in myself and more comfortable sharing who I am, I feel like people really understand me. Confiding in my teacher and friends has really helped me. It doesn't feel good to keep things bottled up inside of you. And I see all the time where you can express yourself. I truly feel that processing things and navigating through them with people I trust has helped me understand myself better and be more comfortable in school in general. In our community agreement, we wrote that we know if there is no struggle, there is no progress, and it's okay to be uncomfortable. I knew everybody would be uncomfortable at times, and that's okay. An activity that stands out to me was our identity webs. At the beginning of the year, it was honestly hard to even open up to myself. Recently, we redid our identity webs, and this time I felt completely comfortable asking questions and sharing myself with others. Because of our SEL work all year, it just felt natural. Moving forward in my life, I plan to carry these things with me. I feel like 4th grade SEL went deep. We love talking about these things, and it's hard to stop us now. This is a blank identity web. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Summer. Social emotional learning is a part of the day where we learn how to be accepting and how to be a good friend. What it means to me is when we talk to our classmates and share how we feel, knowing we won't be judged. It makes me feel safe and happy. We talk about important things not only at that time but also throughout the day. We learn how to process our feelings and accept others for exactly who they are. For example, we have a student with autism in our class, and we wouldn't know how to be the best type of friend to him if he didn't share a story with us. One of our favorite activities was the I Am poems. It was important to us because we really got to see inside our friends. We were able to see what they wonder, what they fear, and who they are deep down inside. Everyone was able to express themselves in their own way. One classmate said, "I felt like I could dump my feelings onto the page." I look forward to all the conversations that we have in the future. And here's examples of the I Am poems.
Hi, my name is Noah. SEO means that I am expressing my feelings to everyone in the class. We've discussed racism and equality many times. If we didn't talk about equality and racism, we wouldn't know about our history. It's important to know about our history to understand racism so that we could have a better future in equality. If we didn't know about these things, we would assume everyone has the same experience, and we wouldn't know how to change the world. When we discuss all the differences we have, it makes us feel safe, and it's easy to welcome our classmates. One book we read was All the Colors We Are. This book taught us about our melanin. If we learned that if our ancestors lived close to the equator, they had more melanin, so our skin is darker. We learned that if our ancestors were further away from the equator, they had less melanin, so our skin is lighter. After we read the book, we all chose colored pencils that matched our skin color. There were 24 choices. There were so many different shades in our class. It made me realize that everyone's skin is different, but we are all humans. If you were wondering, my colored pencil is medium deep golden, and Summer's is light medium deep golden, and Penny's is medium golden.
All right, so next up, we're going to have grade 3. We're going to have Manny and Emily.
Hello, my name is Emily. We do a lot of SEL lessons and keep a journal of the activities that we do. One of the activities that I enjoy doing during our SEL block is our bucket filling activity. Our class read the book Have You Filled a Bucket by Kara McLeod. We learned that a bucket filler is someone who says or does nice things for other people. Everyone carries an invisible bucket that holds our good thoughts and feelings. When our buckets are full, we feel happy. In our classroom, we write kind notes to our classmates and then we place the notes into their individual bucket. As a class, we continue to have many different read-aloud books that encourage us to be kind and appreciate each other's differences.
Hi, my name is Manny. One of the SEL activities that we do each week is called the Class MVP. MVP stands for the most valuable person. Each week, one student in the class is chosen to be the class MVP. The student showcases different parts of their identity by bringing photos or drawings, pictures to show different parts of their life. This is displayed on the bulletin board in the classroom. On Friday, the MVP shares all of their pictures and interests with their classmates. I love reading all of the positive comments that my classmates put together in a special book when I was the MVP. This activity helps us get to know ourselves and our classmates better.
And now we're going to have Marie and Ella come up from the 5th grade.
Hello, I am Marie Giano.
I'm Ella Gazinowski. We start our day with social emotional learning. SEL is an important way to start the day. We can express our feelings and connect with our classmates.
During SEL, we listen to a book called No Voice Too Small, about 14 young amazing Americans who want to make a change in the world. Another way that we can start the day is to read a book from Walk a Mile in Someone Else's Shoes, 40 Book Challenge. We can choose books from diverse cultures to see how people are different and unique in their own way. Some books that we read are
Isaac is in the Corner, No Voice Too Small, and The Proudest Blue.
Another activity that we do in the morning is playing morning meeting games. Everybody loves playing games in the morning. Some of these games can help us get through the day if some of us are not in the best mood.
We sometimes use hashtag puzzle pieces, and we can use our creativity and imagination to build something with a partner. We also play some games such as
Zoom, which means that we have to make eye contact and really pay attention to our classmates and interact with them.
another game that we like to play is called Guess the Word. In this game, a post-it note with a word is stuck to our backs, and we have to ask yes or no questions to our classmates.
We need to guess the correct word, just like the game Headbands. This game can be fun and silly, but also helps us take chances in front of our friends.
In the morning, SEL helps us build confidence in ourselves and others. It also helps us to manage our emotions and understand ourselves.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
So as you can see, the students are fully engaged in SEL, and they work very hard to promote it. And I thank them for being here tonight, along with their families, and thank you for having us.
Comments from the school committee, Mr. Scarmith.
Well, only do I want to say is, first of all, this is what I missed most the last 2 years, is having the kids come to school committee, because it's the best part of it. And second, I want to say that in 4th grade, I had to do an oral report just in front of like 20 kids, and it went something like this. So you guys did great. You were all excellent public speakers, and you did a nice job, and you obviously show which you really are learning a lot. So good job, guys.
I want to echo that. You guys rocked. You are awesome. So good job all around. I think as a community, we need to do better with sharing these types of stories. So I thank all the students that came up and shared their own positive personal experience, because I think we need to do that more. So thank you all for taking the time to join us tonight. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I want to echo what Ms. Campbell and Mr. Scarmers already said. We hear Ms. Wormers always talk about SEL learning, but it was so nice to actually hear from you, the students, who are experiencing on an everyday basis. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you as well. It was a really great presentation. It was very interesting to hear all the really good work that's going on. It really sounds like it's a unique way to improve the student experience, right? It's not just a teacher up talking, it's the students interacting, telling stories, really kind of doing the learning yourself. So thank you again for sharing your stories with us. Sounds like a great program. Thanks.
Yeah, I would echo everything that everyone has said. I would also say that it's nice to see from a programmatic standpoint that you're trying to build community with a lot of the sort of school-wide activities, but also have resources to get down to the individual student level. And so I think, we're doing the right things. We will get there. It's going to take time because this pandemic really changed a lot for people and presented a lot of challenges. As far as you all who presented tonight, you guys are just terrific. And it always gives me hope when I see some of our youngest students, because you've got the open minds and good hearts, and just keep it that way, because we need someone to do a better job than we have in some ways over the years. So thank you. You guys did great.
Thank you. All right. Oh, there's the Highland Hound that's been showing up. Great. So, and I want to thank the Highlands School students and teachers and Mr. Obremski coming, because they really, like you said, put the words to the work we're doing. They really brought in the identity work too, that is part of our social emotional learning. So they talk about the culturally responsive read alouds that they've done, and really understanding one another in their classroom, which truly makes it safe and supportive in our classroom. So we look forward to them continuing that work. All right, so now we're going to move on to Danvers High School. So do we want to take a break and do we want the Highlands kids to get, because you probably have a little homework, your bedtime, it's daylight saving, it's not really 7 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock.
You are welcome to stay all night if you want.
Rounding you up. Thank you. We'll just give you a minute to transition out. We do have Danvers High School students coming up in a moment.
No. Good little.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job. Good job. Thank you. Good job, Summer.
Good job.
Great. All right.
Thank you.
Yes. So Danvers High, the next group to present, and we told you last in January, actually all year long, we've been talking about the community block. So we're very excited to have some student leaders here and Alex Grover to discuss the community block with us. So this is their way of doing their social emotional learning and community building in Danvers High.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us here tonight. I should first say that what you're about to hear from myself and our students is a little snapshot into the community block program. It's not everything, it's just a little bit. But I should use this opportunity to just give you an update on how community block is going. You know, we've gotten a lot of feedback this year. It's going really well, but we've gotten feedback and we're already looking to next year, and there are some parallel initiatives going on in terms of things that are relating to the strategic plan, like integrating MTSS into community block formally. So we're in the midst of that. And also we've used our passion project block to be able to incorporate some unanticipated support for students. An example of that is actually just this past week, we made a new project, a passion project of that's a Brazilian affinity group, as we've had a lot of Brazilian students who need a place to talk and be supported by allies. And so we've been happy that there's this time and space during the day to be able to support our students from all pockets of the school in this way. So we're looking forward to keeping the work going with community block moving forward. It's going to be a busy couple of months in terms of looking to the 22-23 school year with how we can enhance it, but it's really exciting. And to get back to tonight, we have two students here called our community leaders, Lucy and Emily, who will talk a little bit about the community meeting aspect of community block. These students are in a class called Leadership and Community. And so in our schedule, which you've seen a lot in the past year or so as we've adjusted it, they meet every single A block, which is highlighted in pink there. And what they do during that A block time is, with myself and our co-teacher, Mr. Malcarrick, we prepare them to go lead social emotional learning activities in the community meetings. So those yellow blocks circled in red that happen during community block 4 out of the 7 days a week. So just to give you a tangible example, today in class, we have community meeting tomorrow for 11th grade. We prepared the activity that we'll be doing with those 11th grade students in all of the community blocks. So we used some of our class time today to talk about some logistical things in community block for our own class, and then we shifted into reviewing the content of the activity that is being done with 11th grade tomorrow, and then they had the last portion of class to convene with their partner that they go into the community meetings with for each grade level to sort of look at the slides or look at the session and be able to plan who's doing what, you know, who may be taking the lead, who may be supporting. So it's a really collaborative process from student to student, from teacher to student, and then from students to their peers out in the community block time, and specifically for this community meeting. So excited to turn it over to Emily and Lucy, and they're just going to give you a little bit of a window into generally what the skills they learn in the class look like.
So over the course of the year within the class, we've learned a multitude of different things, but we mainly learned how to lead meaningful discussions within our community blocks, as well as being able to facilitate fun activities kind of mixed in with those discussions, so kids are still having fun, but getting to talk about really important things. Creating change within our community and talking about maybe topics that might be hard to talk to on the regular, but we have a space to talk about them now. Learn how to be adaptable in difficult situations, and how to speak honestly and respectfully with our peers and with adults and everyone else in the building.
So one thing that we do is we love to collaborate, especially on their social skills. So to do this, we build a lot of activities that correspond with building their social skills, and we like to talk to them about a lot of like difficult things that happen, whether it's in our community or like this past month we did Black History Month with them. So we got to talk to teachers and how we teach effectively in communicating these with our teachers. So like Mr. Grover and Mr. Mulcarrick, they both taught us. They gave us a rundown. Mr. DeMauro, he also gave us a rundown about how we should talk to them. And we get to develop these post-high school relationship skills. So not only do we get to talk to students and other teachers, but we also get to use these experiences as a way out of high school to also communicate effectively.
And then this class also really helps to benefit our public speaking skills. So we definitely learn how to present confidently in front of large groups, as we're doing now. But whether it be within your community block or even in the class, it's a big class. So getting to talk in front of everyone, and as well as receiving feedback from instructors on, you know, how you might be presenting a certain topic of the week or whatever our community meeting entails that week. And like the flexibility, how we might change, although it's normally the same content from meeting to meeting, how based on maybe who's in your class or what it's going to look like that week, how you can kind of change the plan a little bit to better fit your group of kids you have for that meeting. And so again, like with that said, it does like diverse into like me and Emily's personal experience. So for me, something really exciting was that this year, me and Emily, we both applied to colleges. And while applying to colleges, a lot of them, like they see our transcripts and stuff. So after I got accepted into 2 schools, I got follow-up emails from both schools asking to do an interview. And I just thought like, oh, like they wanted just to get to know me more before like I either committed or like toured that school. But what both of the admissions counselors asked me was what this class on my transcript was. It was in my resume, but you know, that's only so many words. So I got to talk to them both for like 30 minutes just about what we do and how, like, what an impact. And something that they really highlighted was like, this class is like titled like leadership, like how are you an effective leader? And I think that's really something that we get to do. We get to communicate these social and emotional skills to all the students here at Danvers High School. And it's really cool to be like the face of that because you build these relationships that you never otherwise would have built without meeting these kids. So I think it's something that's really cool, and I think it's something that's really important that we've gotten to see. And I mean, I talk to kids who I've never talked to before, so I think that's just really cool. And then my experience I'll be talking about today is just how I can take the skills that I learned from this class and apply it to like real world situations. One of the experiences I had while leading one of our community blocks, you know, we were having a difficult conversation, and there was some students who were kind of having a discussion, but a little bit of an argument about, you know, there might be their personal views or opinions. And prior to me taking this class, I might have approached the situation with a very argumentative or defensive tone. But because of the skills I've learned in this class, I was really able to approach it in a calm and non-biased way, so that we could still have these really difficult conversations within our community blocks, but still have it in a way that it's unbiased and everyone can feel accepted with whatever their opinion may be. And also just continuing to apply these skills, you know, in college and post-secondary education. And as I start to grow my career, I think that all the skills that we learn in this class are very vital, whether it be the public speaking, whether it be the leadership, or just building community in general. And like Lucy was saying, like, we talk to people like I would never like think that I'm friends with like a bunch of freshmen now, but it's pretty cool. They're pretty cool. But just getting to like foster these skills and learn how I can improve on them and just apply them in the real world, whether it be at school, at my job, or wherever it may be. So I think we've definitely learned some really valuable things from this class.
Do any of you have any questions for Emily or Lucy?
We'll start down that end of the table, Jeff.
This is another example of a great opportunity to think about how students interact with each other. And I mean, it's more of a comment than anything else, but the leadership that you've both shown to be able to do that right now, you're both absolutely right. It is going to just serve you so well when you go out in a career and just having these discussions, because this is how you're going to learn, right? After school, after all of this, you're going to learn from other people. And so if you're able to have that dialogue with somebody else, you're going to learn so much. And that's what real leadership is, right? It's you know, taking all of that, absorbing it, having a back and forth conversation. And so I'm not surprised that both of you had great interactions with this. And people want to know, what exactly is this? How did you do this? Because there's a lot of books on leadership. There's a lot of, you know, theories out there about it. But this sounds like it's really something that's impacted you and is going to have a long-term view for you. So thank you for presenting it.
Yeah, I think, you know, as an educator, I see always new things get brought into schools and you're kind of wary sometimes, and is it going to work? And it's really nice to see this happening at Danvers High and being implemented with fidelity. And, you know, I've, you know, talked to other students who aren't here, and they really enjoyed and they're really getting something out of it. So first, thanks to the administration and, you know, Mr. Grover, because I know you were one of the big people behind it and you presented it way, way back. So, and thank you to then the students who are also stepping up to ensure that it is, you know, being implemented with fidelity. So thank you.
You are both amazing. I turned to Robin in the middle, just like, these girls are awesome. So I'm very impressed by you both. So thank you both for taking the time to share this with us. And again, I think as a school committee, as an administration, as a district, I want to find ways to celebrate this more. You know, we often hear of the negatives that are coming out of our schools, and this is such a positive that I think is not getting its fair share, to be quite honest with you. So I would love to find those opportunities to hear more from you, hear more from those students that take part in it, what they get from it, and share that out more within the community, because I think it is so important. And you, like you both identified, the leadership skills that you're getting from this is priceless. So again, just trying to find those ways to do that would be fantastic. But thank you both for taking us through it.
Yeah, you guys did really good. Do either one of you guys want to be lawyers?
Ah, there you go. He's looking for some help.
Talk to me. I may have something for you right now. You guys did a really good job. But let me ask you, first of all, just going back, community meeting, community block is something that, you know, was talked about Adam and Alex, you know, early on. And, you know, I think we had high hopes for it, and it seems like it's developing the way that you guys were hoping it would develop. Alex, thanks for, I just thought you were all about music when you first came in. And you've done a great job with a lot of other things, so we appreciate that. So do you guys obviously think this has been great. You can see it from how you're explaining it and talking about it. Do you think that we've had this effect on a lot of the other students too?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think I know I was nervous when we really started this in the beginning of the year in October when we started going into community blocks, that especially some of the older kids upperclassmen were gonna think it was not like a joke, but obviously they've gone to high school these like 3 or 4 years not having this, but they take it the same way as like my freshman and sophomore do, who might not know it any differently. Like they're definitely adapting to it and latching on, and we had like a really positive activity the day that went really well for everyone. So I think people are starting to enjoy it even more and more as we do it.
Yeah, like we had a lot of pushback, at least in my senior community block. And me and Emily, we do our freshmen and sophomores together, and we've had pushback in our sophomores. But just like the more you keep going, like the more that they're just like, this is like, it is what it is. And the more we keep going in there, the more like they do engage in these meaningful discussions. And now I think I would like to say we have 100% participation from like everyone in there, and they all just genuinely like get like excited when we come in. So that's a great feeling on our half. But it's also like it looks great too that like this has impacted them and it's something that they like actually enjoy.
That's really, really, really great to hear. So do you guys want to stay an extra year? Thanks. Awesome job, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I can't say enough good things about this. I think what you're really learning is to present your authentic self to the world with confidence in who you are and pride in who you are, and to accept others the same way, to accept their authenticity and who they are, and to build relationships. And it's going to develop that at your age is going to be such a big step forward for you as you go forward. So congratulations and thank you for giving life to this program. And Alex, we know very well your commitment to the growth of the students and equity among everybody and the ability of people to get together, maybe from different worlds. And you are, as we say, walking the talk, and we appreciate that. So thank you for your leadership as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then I was going to call Adam Federico just to talk about, the students did a great job speaking about the SEL, and I was going to talk more about the school climate.
Yeah,
and
please.
practices.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us here. I think just to wrap up with Community Block, it's really provided, I've said this before, the infrastructure for us to do so much work at the school. And I can speak firsthand. I've worked with those two in particular. They have some tough customers. And I think for them, it's taught them how to handle those situations. And for the students, they've now been in a situation where a member of their school has helped them think differently about their behavior and decisions. And to me, that's a powerful outcome. And so related to that, I think for this year, in terms of the climate in the school and decision making, we're really emphasizing two key components. So one is student voice. We continue to focus on ways that students feel like they can influence our school and also report concerns. So we're continuing to stress that. I shared at a previous meeting our anonymous reporting forum was a student-driven initiative that is yielding, I think, one mechanism of bringing issues forward that they're not sure how to bring it forward. We continue to emphasize relationships with students. So as an administrative team, we're emphasizing visibility and accessibility. And I think we're seeing kids that are feeling more and more comfortable. And now we're starting to, I think, want to emphasize that with our families as well. So we've been working with families who've encountered some difficulties this year, and they've helped us see we need to reemphasize, here's where the bullying report form is. Here's how we have kids report things. So we're continuing to take the lessons we've learned from the student voice and now add that to family voice. So those two factors, I think, are the main components of what we're doing this year. It's a work in progress. I think coming out of COVID and sort of adding to the demands and adding to the routines, we have to remember that our kids are going to have some stumbles with that, and it's important for us to stay consistent, keep pushing them, and I think the students are responding to that, and so we feel like we're just going to keep moving forward with it, keep asking more of them, and I'm very confident our students are rising to that challenge. I'm very proud of them with the way that they've conducted themselves this year, and when we've had mistakes, then we get into how do we deal with that. So our handbook serves really as the blueprint, right? That kind of walks us through the consequences and the procedures. And then we try to, this year, we're really trying to put some kind of an educational or restorative practice alongside the traditional discipline. So that if you use unkind language or biased language, there's going to be a consequence, but then there's going to be some kind of learning project, whether it's a research paper or a poster campaign or maybe an apology letter. We're trying to provide sort of two sides to those issues so that we can feel like there's growth and kids can really understand the impact of their actions. So that's been, I think, our approach this year. And I think when we get to handbook at some point, we're going to look to codify some of that in the handbook so that it just becomes, very clear that that's how we do things. So that, I think, is the slides that we have there.
Do you have any questions for Adam?
Thank you, Adam. Any questions? The only thing I would say, it's not really a question, it's really more to put the whole presentation in context, not just the high school piece, but we have seen and we've heard from parents that this year in particular, there are more behavioral challenges going on in the schools that can impact others' learning, and it's just, it's happening other places. It's not just Danvers. Anyone who knows anyone in education and other communities is hearing about the same challenges. But this is an example. These are examples of some of the things that we are doing to try and address the issues presently and going forward. And you'll hear in our budget presentation more things that we're doing to try and address the issue. So it's a real issue, and we thank the parents who have come forward and talked to us about this and made their concerns known, because they're real concerns, and we do want you to know we take them seriously and we're working on it. So thank you, Adam.
And sorry, before you, I just do want to publicly thank you. I know that you and your team have been working really hard to really change the culture and climate of the school, and you've had a lot of work to do, and I want to publicly applaud you for all the work that you've done.
I appreciate that. I'd have to thank my team. It's been a team effort, and that includes the kids and that includes the families. So it's definitely a team effort, but I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Nope,
Thanks,
seems
Adam.
like we're good. Thanks, Adam.
So just to wrap up, I do have that the next step slide, and like the work that Adam talked about, we're working at each level. So Adam's doing this at the high school level. Brendan Norton and his team is they're also adding some education restorative practices as well in their discipline. And then, as I said to you earlier, the elementary it's the SEL, and then the school-wide expectations. So as you'll hear coming up, we're looking at the elementary school needs for supporting student mental health issues. Our proposed budget has a behavior coach and time and school psychologist day. We're looking to reduce, take some of their work and redirect it to another position so that they can help service mental health for students, elementary school students. And then at the secondary level, you'll see that our SOA, but our Student Opportunity Act budget will have aides. So they're going to be help with monitoring the hallways and bathrooms at the middle school and high school. So that is our next steps.
Could I ask a question here?
Absolutely.
Sorry. Do we have the findings of that pair study that was done at the middle school?
Yes, we
Was it
do.
pair?
Yeah, pair. So yes, Adam and Ellen. Adam. Sorry, Adam. Brendan and Adam. Adam and Ellen used to be a strong team, but now it's Brendan and Adam and Ellen. And they're working with Jeff Bartlett, the SEL coach. So they did take a quick look at that, and they're using that survey data to inform the Project Talk work that they're doing.
So will we see those findings?
We can see those findings. They're going to also implement the survey at the end of the school year, like more in the spring. So then you'll have pre-post kind of data that we can present to you.
So we'll still be able to see those first round of findings.
Yes,
Okay. Because I'm curious, and I know that the middle school does have that Project Hawk, but like implementing some of even what the learnings are from the community block at the high school down to the middle school level. Because I feel like we haven't talked a lot about the middle school tonight, and I know we only have a certain amount of time, but those are very impressionable years, and I think there's a lot of similar work to be done at the middle school. So
We're sitting in our 1 o'clock meeting when Mary and I were meeting today
Oh.
for our weekly leadership meeting, and that's exactly what we talked about, is what does like a community block segment of time look like at the middle school. So we're really going to dive deep into that as we get ready for the fall.
Okay.
So
great.
on
Yeah,
our radar,
and-
literally that's what we talked about at 1 o'clock.
And we've had conversations with
again,
Brendan
and I know that they do Project Hawk. Like I do know that they do.
We're trying to work with them on increasing the frequency of that block.
Yeah.
Once a month is not enough. So
Yeah.
you'll see that they actually have increased the frequency. They'll have 2 meetings this month, and so they are adding in more time. But they need to, as we enter the 22-23 school year, have a more
And then can you
comprehensive
talk a little about the monitoring the hallways and the bathroom? So is that just literally a hall monitor for both the middle school and the high school?
That's what it's
Who
going
will
to start
be
off as.
circulating.
Yeah, circulating, checking bathrooms, just really working on unstructured time, right? So they might do some work at lunch. We're really looking at where kids aren't in the classroom and how do we help reset those routines.
and then also extra support for the principals.
And those are positions that we'll talk about again when
Yeah.
we talk about the Student Opportunity Act, but also positions that I think we're going to try to post and begin the hiring for this school year to see if we can get those people in place and use some of our ESSER dollars that we didn't spend during this year to start that now, to not wait until September.
And I do want, I think Adam made a really good point about adding those restorative discipline practices into the handbook. Because I do think that our handbook, we should reevaluate it in terms of how we're disciplining the students based on some of the increasing behavioral issues that we're seeing, but adding verbiage around that as well. Because I do think that that would be very important at all levels.
So I think that'll be our May and June meeting.
Okay,
So we'll be
so
working on that over the next couple of months and bring it
not
to
just
the
at the
May
high
meeting for
school
our first
level.
We're beyond public comment, but okay. I'm going to have you come to the microphone, please.
The district. That was amazing, all across the board with all of the kids. I had no idea my child was doing such amazing things in their morning meetings. Your high school girls that were here, do they ever go into the younger grades, or the young, like the middle school or the elementary school? Do they ever work with the kids? Because those are the role models I want my kids seeing. And I know, Miss Campbell, you were talking about, you know, working with the middle school. Do they go in with, they do? Okay. Yeah.
And I think that's as we look at our, and I'm going to call it a marketing plan because we're going to call it what it is, as we work
Say
with
it,
the
it's
high
great.
school. As we work on our marketing plan with the high school, that is one of the ideas that I know Adam and his team have been exploring is what does leadership look like from the kids that are at the high school now and really starting in the younger grades, that they get that full picture of you're an athlete or you're a musician or you're a community leader. What does coming to Danvers High School really mean? And that's one of the ideas that we've talked about. So we're going to look to expand that again as we get into, I think, probably the fall realistically, but really putting together their firm plans.
Yeah,
So.
that's wonderful.
Okay, see?
Yeah,
They're always one step ahead of me.
I think it's wonderful. You know, if you hook them early, when they get to high school, they've had that thought in their head, oh, that class, those really cool girls were, you know, teaching. I want to be a part of that. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so with that, I think we are ready for new business.
I think we have the public hearing on school choice
Oh, I'm
first.
sorry. Yes.
One more item.
All right, so would you like to talk about your recommendations?
Sure. So the acting co-superintendents recommend the school committee vote not to accept school choice for the 22-23 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Again, this just for clarity for those community members that are listening in. This means that we will not be accepting students from outside of the district to come into Danvers, correct?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
You know, we feel like that this is a year, you know, recovering from COVID and, you know, changes in our administrative team, and that we really want to take a year to really think through making a good recommendation and what a plan would be if we did want to do school choice.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Any further? With that, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's a vote. Thank you. Now on to new business.
So I think the first item is with you, Mr. Crane, to talk about the administrative team structure.
Yes. So again, for context here, as many of you know, Keith is moving on at the end of May, beginning of June, and we'll have plenty of time to say more. But Keith, thank you for all you do. What we have discovered in, you know, talking with you and looking at your job and talking with Mary and the number of things you do is really beyond what most assistant superintendents get the opportunity to do or could actually be good at, because you wear a lot of different hats between human resources and the finance piece and just interfacing with the town on operations. You leave very big shoes to fill. So we're talking about how to fill those shoes, and one thing I want to put on the table is that it seems like Mary and her team have the curriculum, the educational piece sort of down. Keith, your finance team, we think will be able to, with the help of central government in the town, and town manager Steve Barther has really offered any help that we need in terms of moving forward, and I have the feeling you have been preparing the folks who report to you to be able to step in and handle some of the work, and we'll talk more about that going forward. But the one piece that seems both to Keith and to Steve is the need for that HR piece. The HR piece when it comes to schools is different and challenging, and there are times and notices and hiring and all sorts of HR functions, human resource functions that are challenging by themselves, but are particularly challenging in a school-based environment and union relations and all sorts of things. So the suggestion I think that Steve and Keith presented were to the meeting we had was to consider immediately trying to find a human resources manager for the schools. So as we're talking about a sort of a restructuring, I want to put that on the table and get some feedback for the folks on the committee. Alex, you want to start?
No, again, Keith, thank you. I want to echo what Eric said. I think what we have found was that you wear many hats and they'll require many people to wear all those hats. So I think, moving forward for us, I'm just going to keep reiterating. I know I'm probably like Miss Optimism here, but I want to use this time as a district that this is positive forward momentum. I know it's hard going through change, particularly all at once, but I do want us to know as a district, like I want it to be a positive change, and going forward to try to find the best leaders, I guess, that would replace Keith and everything that he has done.
Yeah, no, I want to echo what Alice already said. Thank you, Keith. And best of luck in your new position. We're sad to we're sad that you're leaving, but I think definitely we need to focus right now on finding that HR position for the district.
Yeah, no, I appreciate everything that you've meant for this district. Certainly in my time here, I think the overviews, the leadership, the willingness to answer any question that people have come up with, and you've gotten some doozies over the past few years, is welcome and appreciated. And so, I mean, as far as the HR specifically, yeah, I mean, that's a priority right now. So I absolutely support that 100%.
Yeah, well, I would agree. I don't think I know that the public doesn't know what you've done, what an invaluable resource you've been here for the past 12,
almost 13
years, and it really is. And obviously you grew to take on more responsibilities as the time went on, but you really are. It's going to be hard to replace. Well, we can't. One person can't replace what you did, and so I hope the public knows now how important you were to our district. And yeah, no, I mean, I think I agree that the key person that we need to look for now is the human resources person, because that's the area that we don't have really the people already there to take that on. So that's a key thing to do. I would agree with that.
Okay. So I don't know that it actually requires a vote for us to do that, but the sense, Keith, is that we want you to work with the town manager to essentially, and central government, to now start seeking that HR generalist position for the schools. Obviously, the idea is to have that right person in place by the time you leave, if possible. And by the same token, anything that we can do, including being part of the screening process or whatever resources you need from us, you'll have them. But I think at least getting the job description down and what we'd be looking for, we can start with you on that piece, and we'll go forward from there.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. And so now we have another piece. Is I think it's time to renew the continuing. I was almost going to say it, Kingdom. No, the continuing role as of both of you, Mary and Keith, as co-acting superintendents. And so I would accept a motion to continue them in their roles for another. I guess I'm thinking toward, and it's just me thinking this, it could be different, but I'm thinking the end of May 31st as a date for both, and then we'll look at it again at that point.
So yeah, I would move to continue the structure that we have in place now with Keith and Mary as acting co-superintendents to extend from, I think it's April 11th is where we have it leaving off right now, until May 31st.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
No, Eric, I don't know. Do you want to give any public update on Lisa, Dana?
There's no public update available at the moment. Things remain exactly as they were, and we wish Dr. Dana well and hope she is recovering well, but we really don't have any updated information that we can share with the community now. But thanks for mentioning that. Anyone else? All right. I would just say that we have the utmost confidence in both of you, and Mary, we know that you and your team, are going to be ready for whatever happens next. And I know you have confidence in the principals and your curriculum staff and the other leaders in the district to help you both as you're moving forward. So with that, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? All right. Thank you.
Mr. Crane, do you also need another motion to direct you to be the one to sign the contract amendments on behalf of the committee, similar to what we did?
I will move to authorize the chairman, Mr. Crane, to sign the extension of the contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you. So next we're going to talk about the Student Opportunity Act. And if Mary can maybe just turn on the projector as we go. And I'll just read the motion first, and then the recommendation, and then we'll jump into what that presentation looks like. So the acting co-superintendents recommend the approval of the Student Opportunity Act as presented.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
So we'll jump into our presentation now. Excuse me. It is actually going to be the same presentation that we're going to show under our budget hearing. So if it's not linked to the right spot, if you click on the presentation link under the budget hearing, the actual submission of the Student Opportunity Act comes in the form of a complex online state portal. So you can only imagine what that looks like. So we're going to present it via the budget slides here, and then ask that you take a vote to approve the Student Opportunity Act, and then we'll take a vote again when we get to budget to approve the full budget, but we'll do the presentation here. So as we talked about last time, looking at the Student Opportunity Act, the governor did fully fund that in this school year. It is looking at a $673,000 increase over our Chapter 70 funding for last year. So if we break that down into different segments, about $99,000 of that is a $30 minimum increase per student that every district in the Commonwealth received. The additional $573,000 is the additional funding that Danvers received. And then if we break that kind of down into two different chunks, as we've talked about a lot over the past few years, as we continue to monitor enrollment at Essex Tech and what our enrollment is doing at Danvers High School, our enrollment has declined. So as part of this budget process, as we looked at the full picture, and we kind of alluded to this at the budget hearing, but we're waiting for more clarity in the overall town budget picture, there would have been the possibility that we would have needed to reduce FTEs at the high school. Instead of reducing those FTEs, we're really taking $273,000 of that Student Opportunity Act money and reinvesting it back into the programming at Danvers High to better support our high-need students. That includes students in our Therapeutic Learning Center, students in our Drive program, students in our Fundamental program, as well as our Early College program. So taking about half of that money and really having dedicated FTE to be able to support those high-need students. The second half of the money is $300,000, and that is presented in the budget and through the Student Opportunity Act as additional programming. So as Mary spoke a little bit about earlier, really looking at those student behavioral and mental health supports and the introduction of 2 team chairs. Those team chairs will really run our IEP process for families and run the meetings and the testing and the evaluations and all of that work that's currently performed by our school psychologists. By having those team chairs take on that work, it will increase the number of hours that the school psychologists are available to provide direct behavioral health and mental health support for students, as well as the introduction of the 2.0 teacher aides that we talked about to serve as hall monitors at the middle school and high school level, and then a 0.6 ESL teacher. We've seen a significant increase in the population of students receiving ESL services during this school year, so we'll be able to add a 0.6 teacher for next year to better support those students. As we look at the overall student supports and as we really focus on kind of the behavioral health and the mental health we are going to continually to look at when we get attrition, what the different supports can be to better support students and families. So I think I'll pause there, or actually I'll defer to you, Mr. Crane. Do you want me to finish the budget presentation all at once right now? There's just honestly 2 more slides, so if we can maybe just finish that and then we
might as well
separate the 2 out. Okay, for discussion. Okay, so you'll see if we go to our contractual obligations for the district is about $1.6 million. Staffing changes now were originally presented as $16,000 in the Plan A budget we did. Now in Plan B, you see it's up by $316,000, which is that $300,000 we looked at on the slide before, $176,000 of savings and retirements, $144,000 in special education, contractual obligations. That's really that 3% inflationary factor and an increase. It's a net of that one-time circuit breaker that we talked about using at our budget hearing for tuition out for students that have moved into the district during this year. Our other non-salary and contractual obligations are approximately $75,000. So again, it brings our total proposed increase for FY24 to $46,623,000, or a 4.37% increase with the Student Opportunity Act money included.
All right. So we've kind of worked into our budget presentation and or vote, I think, because what's pending on the table is just the Student Activity, Student Opportunity Act. So tell you what, let's do this. Are there any questions regarding the Student Activity Act, Student Opportunity Act?
I actually have a couple questions. So, you know, a large percentage of it, if you're looking at it percentage-wise, is going to preserving the high school staffing levels. So it feels as though the student-to-teacher ratio is going to be very advantageous for our students now, with us being able to keep FTEs allocated at the high school. How are we tracking the success? How are we tracking how well these students will be performing based on this additional types of resourcing? I guess my biggest worry is, like, we keep throwing money at it. Are we seeing the right measure of success?
And I don't think we can necessarily answer what those direct measures are tonight. What I will tell you is that it's at least probably twice a week that, you know, Mr. Federico, Mrs. Wormers, Mrs. O'Neill, and myself are meeting to go over that, to really look at what those structures look like. And that while it's preserving the FTE, as I kind of alluded to, is as we have attrition, we're going to continue to look at where is that best suited, right? So we pass the budget today in March, and then we implement it in September, right? So we have a full 6 months before that really comes to be. So it might be, if we have a psychologist leave, do we want to replace it with a psychologist like we had? Or if we have, I don't know, high school guidance counselor, like, none of that happens in a vacuum, right? Each position that we have natural turnover in, we take the opportunity to review and say, is this really seated in the best spot? Is this really what we want to do? So that model will continue for students really K to 12, and our conversation continues to be, how do we have those interventions as we look at the ESSER money and we look at reading specialists to really make a difference in our younger learners as well, to hopefully keep those cohorts smaller as they get to the high school level, but also making sure that we address those programs that honestly there's been a recognized need for a number of years, and that the budget has not allowed that opportunity. So through the Student Opportunity Act money really is just presenting us with that opportunity to look at it differently and restructure that as the new team.
Okay, great, that makes sense.
Anyone else on the Student Opportunity Act part? Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Carries. And tell you what, let's keep this in order, because we should do the Special Education Stabilization Fund before we do the budget, I think, before we actually vote. So let's just keep moving on to policy.
The acting co-superintendents recommend the approval of review of Section D as per MASC proposed for a first reading.
Second.
All right. Arthur, you want to, as my co-member on the policy committee, speak to this?
I'd actually defer back to Keith,
Okay.
Keith is the one that studied it all and presented it to us, and I think he can do a better job.
Okay.
So section D really is fiscal management. So it's all around the finances, how the budget is passed, and what those different policies look like. This is a comprehensive review that was done by MASC. It's mostly just changing pronouns, changing things from like him, her to their, changing terms like city/town to municipality, changing selectmen to select board, and looking at those to kind of update the language, but there's no substantial real changes to what those policies are. I would like to highlight just 2 DEC, which is a new policy on federal funds supplementing and not supplanting our budget. This is something that we've had in place as an operational practice for years, but not a practice that we've had in the policy manual. So that is a new policy. And then policy DJGA, that want to be a tongue twister, is around accepting gifts, and there is no current policy in the MASC policy manual around accepting gifts. This is a policy that we have had in place for a long time. It's based on the state ethics law. It's primarily the same policy that was in place before. We did add more explicit language about conflict of interest and ethic law renewals, and the expectation of employees to be doing that on an every other year basis to make sure that that was, you know, further stated in detail in the policy.
Any further discussion on this particular policy? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Carries. Policy D. I'm sorry, item D, policy.
So the acting co-superintendents recommend the approval of review of the Danvers school lunch charging procedure for a first reading.
So,
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. My sense on this, Keith, and you can jump in, is that it's really minor changes in terms of the timing and, you know, for when students will be charged for lunches if they don't have money with them that day, how long that period can last when someone's not paying, and what parents can do and options. If there are more specifics, please add them.
We're really providing more leeway.
More time
Right.
and
Yes.
ensuring that the policy outlines a better quality lunch, which we were already doing, but also making sure that our policy adheres to the new law that was signed by the governor recently. And this year, this is not a problem because all students receive universal free lunch for this school year, but we want to make sure that this is in place when that program likely ends. That has ended at the federal level. They've told us it will not be extended beyond this school year. So there is some advocacy happening at the state level for universal free lunch, but the federal government has said that that will not be extending to next fall.
Thank you. Is there other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Carries. Calendar.
The acting co-superintendents recommend the approval of the 2022-2023 school calendar / early release days for first reading.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Are there questions?
Okay, so doesn't matter to me what the days are, but I know that families, because I know that when we were going to end on a Monday this year, people were all up in arms. June 19th obviously is a holiday, so now technically we end on the 20th. And parents are gonna say, I want to end on a Friday.
Well,
I know that's gonna get brought up because that was
It's gonna
a big
snow,
concern.
because it always
You know,
snows.
it's probably going to. I know. I just wanted to bring that up because that always gets brought up. Oh my goodness, we have to extend it one more week. So I don't really, and just looking at this calendar, I don't even think there's even wiggle room to change that. And you're right, it probably is going to snow. It always does. But I did want to bring that up, as that always seems to be a very big concern.
And it's always our conversation
Yeah.
as we're creating the draft
So,
of
yeah.
the same type
Yeah.
of conversation.
But this year we end on a Tuesday, right? Or a Monday?
We were supposed to. We had the same situation this school year, but we had 2 snow days, so that's bumped us out to Thursday.
Yes.
I don't know how you feel. I'm just bringing it up as a family.
People want to end on the Friday.
I know.
They can certainly end on the Friday.
I know. I know.
Right, and we recognize
People
that may
get very
happen, and right,
held
like
up
you
on
said, there's
that.
not much. So, and I can highlight quickly the changes. So the only real change where that would be possible is historically we've gone to school on December 23rd. This year that is the first day of the holiday break based on the town hall calendar and what holidays they celebrate and when those holidays are recognized. So Christmas Eve is a holiday on the town hall side of our world. So because that falls on a Saturday, that gets recognized on Friday, which added to the 23rd being a holiday. The other change was typically the parent-teacher conference day would be November 1st. That was moved to November 8th to align with the national election, to make sure that it's a mid-cycle, that we do not have students in the building. And then just one other highlight for the community as we're talking about this is parent-teacher conferences are on November 8th for K-12 on that day. Pre-K will be in session, and then pre-K only will have their teacher conference day on February 8th, which aligns better with the preschool calendar and their progress reporting that they do at the preschool level.
And December 23rd, we can't do a half day because the town is off. There's no DPW to assist with all of that stuff.
Right. And again, if
there's no really off.
And I can't remember the last year that we've not had a snow day, right?
Oh,
so it would
yes,
end up putting us back in that same position where we would still be ending on that day, or, you know, there could be advocacy, obviously, to look at paying overtime or whatever that might look like. But I honestly can't remember again in my 13 years that I've been here that we've not had at least one snow day that would bump us out anyways into that next week.
Who brought it up? No, people were gonna ask.
Well, then you're gonna. Why don't we start
We're
before
gonna
Labor
rewatch
Day?
Well, that's a negotiation.
Right, and that's a negotiation conversation, right? And that's the beginning of the year is all dictated by collective bargaining agreements. So to change those PD days or when kids come back would require a different contractual agreements. That is obviously something that we could bring to the table the next time that we meet with the various unions, but for this calendar in particular, we would not have that flexibility.
Thank you.
Further discussion on the calendar? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye for first reading on the calendar.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, none. So it'll be back before us next month for a final vote. Special Education Stabilization Fund.
The acting co-superintendents recommend the approval of the establishment of the Special Education Stabilization Fund. And if it's okay, I will read how we need the motion worded, and then maybe somebody can so move that motion to make sure that we check that box, if that is okay. We can do that. Okay. We would like a motion to accept the provisions of Chapter 40, Section 13E of the Massachusetts General Law permitting the school district to establish a special education reserve fund / stabilization fund or take any other action thereto.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So Keith, you want to remind us, I think this came up at last month's budget hearing, but if you want to talk about this again to drive it home for folks, please do.
Yes, this was part of our two-part plan, right? Part one was having $600,000 allocated to the circuit breaker reserve to help us in this next budget cycle. The establishment of this fund, which was allowed, I believe, starting in 2016, will set us up for future success when we have a budget challenge in special education, that we won't need that free cash, that one-time allocation. We'll have this reserve or savings account that we'll be able to go to. Establishment of the fund requires school committee, select board, finance committee, and town meeting approval. Future withdrawals from the fund just require a vote from the school committee and the select board to help streamline the process.
Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Carries. So now we are on to unfinished business, final adoption of the FY23 budget. This will also be a public hearing, so if anybody has comments after the school committee comments, we'll welcome you to come up and ask any questions that you have. So with that, Keith, I'll let you.
The acting co-superintendents recommend the adoption of the FY23 budget.
Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. And just for clarity, that number is $46,623,478. So with that, Keith, we have had some changes since the initial presentation. You want to cover them, and we can talk about what happened with the selectmen, and I'll carry that piece.
So I would say the changes that are from the original budget is what we outlined in that Student Opportunity Act slide. So that's the $673,000 that kind of, well, the 507, sorry, let me start over. The $300,000 of additional spending were outlined there, and the $273,000 in preventative that we could prevent cuts of was also outlined in that Student Opportunity Act slide. So this is a balanced budget. We think it, with the town, you know, across the whole town, we think it meets all of our needs, and as we said, we'll continue to adapt the budget as we go forward over the summer, and then report out in September what that hiring looks like if we have different openings that come through.
Questions from the school committee?
I think with me, you know, I think when you look at our budget, I think we have a healthy budget. And so I'm just going to keep reiterating and being that broken record of where and how are we measuring student success within our district, particularly as we're seeing budgets increasing. So whether or not that's MCAS, you know, college acceptance, you know, what have you, assessments that teachers do, I just think that we need to do a better job of tracking the success of the students, celebrating it, sharing it at these school committee meetings as well, so we could track along to see where our tax dollars are going and the success our students are seeing from it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Actually, just one question. I'm assuming, Keith, but I'll just ask you anyway. This is, you always work closely with the town. This is in line with what they are looking at for the overall budget. Everything's good there.
It is, and what I'll say is it is, you know, $300,000 higher than what our typical budget may have been, but that's a direct result of the Student
funding.
Opportunity Act and the money coming in.
Okay.
Yeah, Keith and I actually presented at it was Selectmen's Budget Day on Saturday morning, and you know, I think the way that we explained it, and they're supportive, is that the initial budget that we first looked at really was, if you recall, very bare bones. There was a net. There was a loss of one elementary school teacher at Thorpe, and an addition of an elementary school teacher at Smith that was based on enrollment. There was the addition of, I believe, one additional aide, and that was pretty much, you know, besides covering contractual agreements and, you know, deciding, hey, do we do a textbook this year or do we do something else? There was very little room in that budget. The increase that we're looking for and we have requested based on the Chapter 70 money really allows us to do some important extras. And I would say what jumps out at me in particular, this fits with our desire to really aim more aid, and when I say aid, I mean aim more attention, aim more resources at students with the greatest need. And so I think of the addition of the two team leads, as really important, because it really is going to free up psychologists to work in providing direct mental health services to students. Obviously, the ESL is going to help make it easier for students who are transitioning, and we're seeing more and more of that every year. So providing those resources is very important. And just those two items alone sort of jump out. The hall monitors basically allow us to have more eyes on what's going on. We all know that will be a good thing next year. So much of this is sort of in keeping with our desire to really help students from a mental health standpoint and from a behavioral standpoint. And we're lucky to have the funding to be able to do that this year. The selectmen were supportive and moved the budget forward to FinCom without too many questions. And
that hearing will be on April 12th.
Okay.
Finance Committee hearing.
Is that a town hall? That's a town hall as well.
I believe it is, yes. That'll be a busy night. We have kindergarten orientation at 6:30, Finance Committee at 7.
There you go.
So a busy, busy night.
I encourage my fellow members to show up there as well and show your support for the budget if you'd like. We'd appreciate it. But that's the reason for the change. There's really some pointed aid that we're using that money for. So with that, it is a public hearing. Does anyone in the audience have any questions? No. All right. I have a motion and a second to approve the budget. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the budget for FY23, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Carries. Thank you, Keith, and thank you, Mary, and thank you to your team for putting together the budget and the priorities that you have focused on. All right, order of business. Consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Are there any questions on any of the items on that? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, and we have communications. I'm sorry,
Nope.
minutes. I'm jumping ahead.
That's right. Don't forget me, Mr.
It's-
Crane.
it's your moment in
I'm
the
still
sun.
here.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
still here for a little while. I move to approve and release the minutes from the February 14th, 2022 regular meeting, and approve and not release the minutes from the February 14th, 2022 executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Communications, Keith?
The consortium will be doing their second reading of their budget at the April meeting, and we'll bring that, a copy that will be linked to the next agenda in April.
Thank you. Legislation, Senator Lovely will appear at the April meeting and take questions. And she is anxious and glad we could find a date that works for everybody. Subcommittee liaisons, curriculum and assessment.
We don't have any updates.
Our next meeting is April 1st.
Yeah.
Equity.
No updates from the equity subcommittee.
I think it's April 23rd or 24th. Is that
Okay, so there's a meeting coming up.
Yep.
Policy we have covered. Deep.
The only update is that the next meeting is this Wednesday morning at Brookline Bank in Danvers.
Ready? Thank you. Danvers Cares.
So we had a meeting Monday, March 7th, and we reviewed a few items, one of which was the Behavioral Health Family Resource Center. They have a really good website and great information for everybody there, and shared some leadership updates, including the Teen Health and Safety Guide, which is going to be in the Herald April 28th. Still looking for more articles, so if folks have ideas for that. And then a lot of other things such as Light the Night Purple, healing and unity experiences, as well as some of the district programming that's going on.
Great, thank you. SEAPAC we have heard from. Danvers Human Rights and Inclusion Committee. At our last meeting, there was discussion going forward about planning for the spring and events that could come up and happen in the spring. There was also a lot of discussion about the committee at some point may request that the Board of Selectmen declare racism as a public health crisis in Danvers. But I don't think, and Dee, you're here if you want to add anything. I don't believe that there's anything settled on that yet. Okay, it's just in the discussion stage. But all right, budget for the 22 report.
So your February monthly budget report is attached. We still remain on target to be balanced at the end of the year.
Okay. Personnel.
So the notification of resignation and leaves from the month of February is also attached.
All right, and I see nothing on the agenda after that. Our next meeting is April 11th. Okay, and we have Finance Committee the next night. All right, that's it. Does anyone have anything else to bring before the committee? I will accept a motion to adjourn if we're all set.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you and good night.